Jamie, you launched the Drip Cafe and you were with us a few months back talking about a really crazy situation surrounding the cafe where the Denver communists and other groups, LGBTQ groups and individuals, have been protesting your presence there in the community. But before we get into that and what's been going on both the negative and the positive side of things, tell us a little bit about the Drip Cafe.
Yeah, the Drip Cafe is a basically an idea from our project where we're helping homeless people get out of homelessness to break the chains that are holding them down with homelessness. One of those important areas is to have a real job, to build a resume, to get work experience, to get used to socializing in a normal setting and stuff like that. So the Drip Cafe was kind of handed to us from God in a way to be a part of that project so that we can just integrate into the Denver community and actually hire people in our project to get them that real life work experience through the Drip Cafe.
So you're giving people who are experiencing homelessness a chance at all the things you just mentioned. What have you seen? Obviously, when we first connected, you were relatively newly open. You were dealing with all of the protests and the chaos. We'll get into that in a minute. But what are some of the ways that you've seen God work through helping the homeless and what you've been doing there at the cafe?
Yeah, honestly, it has been wild, and God always surprises me in the interesting ways that He brings blessings to people. But from the very basic things is we do have homeless people who just walk in the cafe, needing a cup of water or something, and we are able to chat with them, get to know their name, hear their story, pray with them, bless them. Sometimes, we will feed them or we'll, have them, do some sort of task. They come in asking like, hey, can we wash your windows? And they got their whole window set up. We're like, yeah, you can, wash your windows. We'll give you burrito, whatever, just try to bless them. And so in those simple ways, we're able to just bless people who walk in. Right. And that's not just the homeless people, but that's the community around that area on the Santa Fe Art District. Just regular customers are coming in that are having hardships that we're able to pray with and bless and just kind of get to know their story. But in addition to that, since we've been getting so much negative attention on the Drip Cafe, it's been bringing also positive attention to people who see what we're doing with Project Revive is what it's called, where we're, trying to help the homeless community get out of homelessness. So it's bringing support, which is really what is helping this project become what we're envisioning through this negative attention. Essentially, we're being able to bless the homeless community more now with that. So.
Yeah. And, it's interesting because the negative attention, let's talk about that for a minute. You guys opened up and you got this shop, and this is a business that is also serving the community. I mean, you are there to reach people, to help people rebuild their lives, but there are groups of people and individuals who do not want you there. And the protests that had started that we talked about back in August when you were on the show, this hasn't stopped. Usually a protest, people kind of tucker out, they stop doing it at some point, they kind of move on. The protests continue. Tell us a little bit about what do the protests look like and what is it that they're so upset about?
Yeah, it is interesting. And I think that's why we can definitely identify that it's a spiritual warfare going on. Because by now they should realize they're not affecting us the way that they thought they would. Their goal is very clear. It's on their site, it's on their posters. They want to shut us down by ruining as much business as possible so that we can't pay rent. That's their goal, right? So they want us out of there in that way. So they show up on their protest day and they come with, posters saying that we hate gay people, saying that we exploit homeless people, making up all kinds of lies, saying I'm a mega church, and like all this kinds of these things that aren't even true and have no backing. And
How
so
often do they show up? Sorry to interrupt, but how often are they
it's
there
okay.
protesting?
Yeah, they come once a month now still since the day we've opened in back in June 2023. They used to come weekly, and then now they're just coming once a month. And they show up and they protest during the busiest hour on the busiest day of the month, essentially.
And when they show up to protest, how many of them are there? And what does that protest look like? Is it yelling? Is it silent? I mean, just take us through those, elements.
Yeah, the numbers vary. They seem to be getting weaker, it seems, or maybe it's just too cold for them to be outside. I don't know. It's really cold over here in Denver right now, like getting towards the 10-degree area sometimes. So they, could be anywhere from 5, 10. There was 30 at one point. So it just really varies on how many people they can get riled up for that month. Yeah, they stand outside with a blowhorn and they're screaming. If a customer tries to walk in the door that just is a regular person trying to come in, they will scream in the blowhorn and say, "Don't go in there, don't go in there," like, and literally scare them from even wanting to come into the cafe, even though they have no idea what's going on. They just like scare people, and they're, handing out flyers with a ton of misinformation with like my picture on it, accusing me of certain things. They've even actually gone as far as attacking me personally and saying that I'm using my late wife's death as a tool to get people to feel sorry for me. And it's like they're getting very personal with it. And
What is that? What is okay? So we have to stop there and address that because you're a widower, right? You've lost your
yeah,
wife.
yeah.
And that's obviously a very personal thing. And I've seen those critiques. I've seen those things that have been brought up as I've researched this story and looked at it. What is that like for you as a believer, as a human being, for that sort of thing to be brought into this conversation?
Well, I would have to say I'm a liar if I was to say it didn't hurt at all. I mean, if anybody says anything about that kind of situation, it hurts a little bit. But for me, it's also a confirmation of how powerful my testimony is that Christ has given me through my life, that the enemy would try to pull that out and use it as a tool against me, So the fact that he would pull that out and use it as a tool against, it just confirms to me that that part of my testimony is actually one of the things that has made me the strongest and has, made my ministry as strong as it has through Christ, because that's how Christ works, So, yeah, I mean, it's crazy, but the other thing is God has sustained me from day one since that has happened, since that tragedy. And I have 2 young daughters, you know what I mean, that were here when she passed away. And actually, great things happened in 2023 as well, where I actually just got engaged. So that's, just a
Congratulations.
new part of the story God is doing. God just doesn't stop. But that's the enemy trying to pluck at, hurts in my life, and he can't win, Jesus already won.
So they're there, yelling at people, allegedly being grumpy, not wanting people to come in. What was it about Drip and about the cafe being there and about you and about all this in your view that created this need in their eyes to be protesting? Was there something specific they've pointed to? Your ideology, something you believe?
Yeah, so the Drip Cafe, it's its own business, right? That is owned by Recycle God's Love. And so basically, on not anything having to do with the Drip Cafe, but if they find their way to Recycle God's Love, there's a mission statements page, or not mission statements, our beliefs, right? And so on our beliefs, we state quite a few scriptures of what we believe, what we think the Bible states and what is true, and that we stand on those things. And one of the dozens of things that are on there is something about, man being with woman and, homosexuality being a sin. That is a scripture being quoted. That is not, us as an organization making up what we think is right or wrong. It is a scripture from the Bible. So in all reality, this Denver communist group is going against the Bible, not against the Drip Cafe or Jamie Sanchez. They are literally mad at what the scripture says. And because I don't want to take what scripture says off of my website, they want me to go away, essentially.
It's interesting that this has gone on, for so long now, and yet you've been able to continue. I imagine, though, despite continuing on and you've seen all these amazing things, this probably hurts business, I would imagine, in some way when people are posting things online, when they're showing up. And I mean, who wants to walk into something where they're being, where there's people protesting? So talk a little bit about the impact it's had in the negative sense. And then I want to talk a little bit more about how you've seen God work.
Yeah, I mean it's her business. When they come in, they have strategically come in on the busiest day of the month. It's called the Art Walk on Santa Fe District. So what they do is the whole block kind of pulls out art stuff, and everybody walks all the galleries on the street. So it's the busiest day of the month. And in past years, before we took that cafe over, that was the month. That was the day that keeps you afloat, essentially keeps you out of the red, I guess you would say. And so with that day being affected, it has hurt. It fluctuates every month, but that's definitely been taking an impact on our sales for sure.
What would you say, when it comes to your persistence, you stay there, you remain there? A lot of other people might say, you know what? I'm folding up shop here. I know God called me here, but he'll call me somewhere else. I'm moving on. And they might sort of take matters into their own hands rather than, relying on his call. What keeps you saying to yourself and to those you're helping there, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep persisting and staying here regardless of what they say and do?
You know, I just trust God so much. He's done so many things in my life to prove to me that I can trust him. And for me, the cafe is not mine. I don't really see it as my cafe. I don't see it as Recycle God's Love Cafe. I see it as God's cafe. So he gave it to us. If he wants it to go away, then he'll make it go away. But, the door that God opens, no man may shut. So if that door is going to be open to his will, it's going to be open. So I really don't worry about it being shut down, because I just trust that whatever happens, it's always part of his will. And as long as me and the staff and the volunteers with Recycle God's Love do things with integrity, and we're lifting all things up to God, then we don't really have anything to worry about.
What has inspired you the most? Because, in the midst of dealing with all that, you're trying to run, this business, and you're seeing homeless people come in, I imagine, work for you. Also, as you said, coming in off the street, you're helping them in different ways. Maybe there are particular stories, maybe it's something more general, but what has been the most inspirational piece of this puzzle to just watch it all unfold since June?
Well, the coolest part is, so we actually are finally getting towards the position where we can hire someone and make the program work the way we want it to, with the Drip Cafe aspect. And that's taken a lot of work. And the Denver communist protests had slowed that down. We planned on hiring our first person for the project a while back, but because business has been so hard to stabilize through the protests and everything, it took us a longer time than we thought. But we're actually getting to the point where we're going to be able to hire someone on, and that's a pretty big deal. We're going to be able to take someone who essentially is, they're hopeless. They feel like no one cares about them. No one loves them. They don't think anybody wants to know their name even half the time. People are afraid to shake your hand half the time when they're homeless, because they think that there's a stigma that, the general population, puts on them and makes them feel like. So we're going to be able to just pull them out of that, show them that, Christ loves them. Christ gives more chances. That's what God's all about, is grace. And it's here is your next chance. Let's do this. Let's take it seriously. We're going to pull you out. We're going to help you with mental health things. We're going to help you stay sober. We're going to give you that job and help you get used to being back in front of people and get that service, mentality going, and saving money, and like just all the real life things it takes to just be a part of society, because it's difficult just to be a normal person, whatever a normal person is. I don't know. I'm not one, but it's like,
Nobody is.
right. So it's like, it's just hard to just get by. And we want to give them those tools for a fresh start. And we're finally getting to the point where we can do that. And it's an amazing moment for us to be on the brink of. So.
Well, that is incredible. And if there are people out there who want to support your mission and maybe they don't live in Denver or they're not near you, how can they find out more about what you're doing and support you?
Yeah, so recyclegodslove.com is where all of our information is about our ministry, about Project Revive, which is where we're helping them out of the homeless situation. There's, you could always link over to see any of the videos and stuff that we're working on. You could also, donate through there. We're definitely asking for people to help support the Project Revive coming up, because that's going to take a lot of support to get people off the street and just really break all the chains that are holding them down. So, yeah.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time updating us. We'll continue to check in with you as time goes on. Hopefully, some of this continues to temper as we move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.